Hello and welcome back to Railroads Online. I think the general plan for today is that we're going to go ahead and finish up the sorting as best we can. Um, we're probably going to end up using a couple of more lines than what we've actually been using in the sorting yard because we've actually got quite a bit quite a bit left. So we're going to go ahead and pull Lucky out again. It would help if the key would work. Thank you. I only hit it like 7 or 8 times. Um, we're gonna pull Lucky out again, and we're gonna start um, getting some more sorting done, and we will pick up with the original plan of getting a um, train set up so that we can go and and send the consists where they need to be. For the vast majority of that rolling stock, um, for that train that we're going to make up, we're probably going to use one, if not two, sightings in the outbound to make that up, to make that happen. So it's gonna be a fairly substantial train, and we'll probably need to run a double header uh, to get it up the hill for the time being. But once we get it up there, we're only gonna need that double header one time. So that should be fairly interesting. I'd been thinking about that the other day. Uh, while I was thinking about how we were gonna get that train up the hill, and I figured, a double header might be the about the best way to do it, so we can make as few trips as possible. So I think that I'm trying to decide as to how to structure it because we know Lucky is top heavy. He loves to just fall over, and besides him, we don't have another locomotive to pair up with Eleonora to send up the mountain. That's kind of an odd pairing, but there will be enough power to make it happen. I think we'll probably just have to really watch. We'll have to really watch and see how. Trying to think and talk at the same time. We're gonna have to really watch and see how Lucky behaves on the run up the hill. Because if I mean he is really the only option we have right now. Um, but if he starts really causing a problem, we may have to try something else. So I'm gonna get these all hooked up, and I will I will get back when it is daylight out so that we can actually see what we're doing here. It looks like that was the last one, so I better stop. And it's going to open up that point, but that's alright. Okay. So let's go ahead and back up, and I will be right back. Alrighty, we are back, and I'm just getting I'm getting the train pushed up to the edge of the hill here. Um, I went ahead and moved it up while it was nighttime and waited until I could see actually where I was at and what I was doing in order to move it up here. So we're going to go ahead and start sorting these cars. Let's see if I remember our setup here. Let's see, we got a boxcar. Okay, so we want that siding right there. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep on just getting out of the locomotive every time and going up and whoa. going up and uncoupling them. I seem to have been able to get that into a fairly steady rhythm last time, and it seemed to work pretty good. So I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. I'm going to add in a length of an abutment there that just comes right up to the edge of the hill here, where everything starts to work its way back down. And I'm gonna run an adjacent uh, brick wall or rock wall here, so that I can actually walk on it and not be having to do fly mode all the time, because the actual portion of the walkway that's here is exceedingly narrow, and to save time I've got to move a little bit quicker. Well, if I end up moving just a little bit too close to one of these cars, it's going to knock me right off. If I move a little bit too far away, it's going to knock me right off. And that's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to mitigate. So let's see, our outside was the hopper car for the coal, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And away it goes. If it sounded a little bit delayed, it's because I was moving faster than I was talking. Yeah, that's usually a pretty standard thing for me. I uh, I don't talk very fast, if you haven't noticed by now. Um, but that's really not too much of a problem for what we're doing here. So we've got another flat car. Let's go ahead and get our next switch set and move up a little bit. Now I said this in our last episode. This is really a good example of a job that needs two people, and I still stand by that quite a bit. Mainly for the fact that I'm sure you guys don't want to see me run back and forth like this constantly. Um, if I had a second, I didn't realize I was riding that car. um, if I had a second set of hands up here on this hill, um, they could just run the locomotive and I could uncouple, or vice versa. As it stands, however, the one person that I know could run this line with me in these videos. He is currently busy with both work and another college course. I don't bother to go too much into detail figuring out what he's studying, but he's been in and out of college for oh about 6 years now. I think. Okay, so this is why I'm on the fly mode here. Just get knocked down. That's an ore car. So we want that one and that one. Yes. Okay. So we'll go ahead and let that loose, and it should start rolling. But yeah, he's currently dealing with um, school and work, which, kudos to him. I wish, honestly, that I had had the time when I was in my teens and early 20s to be able to go to school. Um, and I don't believe I've said this very many times, but I actually had to stop my formal education, high school and college and all that. My ideal for formal education, I actually had to stop that around the time I was 16 to help out with my family. And I personally I don't regret it. I think there's a lot of things that I'm uh better for having not completed my formal education. It gave me the opportunity to learn at a pace that it kind of more suits me. Kind of more suits my style. It gave me an opportunity to learn things that you're not gonna learn in schools, like finances, like um, vehicular maintenance, maintenance on internal combustion engines. That is to say, not so much transmissions or differentials, but let's see if that went the right direction there. I think it did. Yeah, yeah, I think that did. Um, but I could see where school would be beneficial to somebody like me even now. But I think I'll make it. I think if I keep learning what I intend to learn, I'll do pretty well. It just, in my personal opinion, I don't think a piece of paper should really determine what kind of job you can get. If you can prove that you can do what the job entails, you should be able to get the job. And I've always taken a pretty oops, press the right button at the right time. I've always taken a pretty hard stance on that, mainly because there are jobs that I've held where somebody with a decade of college can't get their foot in the door. And here I am standing, sitting here on a computer right now, talking about how I was able to get a job and hold it for almost 10 years that most people need a college education just to get started in, and that being CNC machining. Now, my employer, I think what ultimately got him to hire me to begin with was me saying one thing, and that was that I wanted to learn how to do the job. I think that's what got me hired, to be perfectly honest, because I definitely don't think that I was qualified for it. But I will grant you, I had one. This was something that was extremely difficult for him, in my opinion. I had one bit of praise come from him regarding my ability to do the job, and that was that 6 months after he hired me the first time, and I fully admit I quit at one point to go pursue commercial truck driving again, which is the stories I tell over on ATS with night transportation that took place at that point in time. Um, for the first time he said anything to me about my performance was 6 months after I had started there the first time, and I think for him, a point of praise is a hard thing to give to any employee, and that um, that was that in 6 months I had proven that I could do more and learn faster than a lot of people that he'd hired right out of college. Now, I don't know how much of that's true, and personally, I took it with a grain of salt. It felt pretty good to hear it, but I took it with a grain of salt. And the reason for that is because to this day, I don't feel that I am qualified to do jobs like that. I feel that, there are more qualified people out there, which is true. It is true by any manner of or any stretch of the imagination. It's true. Um, but that said, I still stand beside what I said just a minute ago in that I don't think you need a piece of paper to determine what kind of job you can hold. Uh, so while I will not, for any reason, say that somebody is wasting their time at school, I think that employers put too much stock in uh, paper. I think they put too much stock in that kind of thing. But that's just my opinion, and my as we've discovered over the last, or as I've personally discovered over the last 20 years, my opinion doesn't mean a hill of beans compared to anybody else's. In fact, I think my opinion means so little to other people that I may as well not have one, at least in their opinion. Well, I guess we didn't get far enough forward. That's all right. We got our switch set, so let's go ahead and push this little guy a little bit. Just give him a nudge. Oh, he's already going on his own. There we go. So we'll get this one moved up a little bit further. Stop it right there. And while that one's heading down, we'll go ahead and get this one ready to be uncoupled. We'll set our switches. And hopefully our record of getting these in here correctly is spotless for the remainder. Now I do see a problem back over here, and I'll show you this. I saw this in the map. We are rapidly, because for whatever reason, two of these did not get coupled, we are rapidly running out of room over here. So I am going to need, let's see, is that one going to go where it needs to go? Yes, it is. I am going to need, well, let's see. Maybe we'll get lucky here. That's going to push it. Okay, I'm going to need to set the brakes on this. And we're going to have to go, well, yeah. It'd just be quicker to use lucky. All right. Camera. Good God. Okay, so I'm going to set the brakes on that one. And I'm going to get lucky uncoupled here. Hopefully it doesn't roll away on us. And we're going to go and move. Okay. We're going to go move that rake of ore cars back. But yeah, I will give props to anybody who goes and puts in a lot of time and effort into their education. They feel it's necessary, and it's a good thing to have. I just for my life, it just wasn't in the cards. That's not saying that I didn't want it. That's not saying that I couldn't have done better with it. Personally, I don't know that I could have. I don't know that I did, that I would have. But I think, like I said, I think I've learned things that a lot of people in my position will never learn. Finances being a big one. And this is something that I can brag about. When I was in my mid-20s, okay, let's see, Yeah. When I was in my mid 20s, I left to go drive a truck uh, with night. I'd quit my CNC job or my machining job, and I went to go work driving trucks. Well, I had just bought a car that year, brand new car, virtually brand new anyway. It was maybe a year and a half, 2 years old, and I bought it. It was a repo. Okay, it was a car that I'd wanted for a long time. Well, I bought it, and I went to go driving trucks. Well, they ended up really, really rubbing me the wrong way. So I went back to that CNC job about a year later, and then COVID hit. Well, being what it is and what had happened, and my level of intelligence being what it was at the time, I was struggling to make ends meet because I had just took a pay cut of better than half. I had gone from uh, between $3,000 and $5,000 a month at night to back down to, I believe it was just over five, or just over, not 500, but just over 1,500 a month. Um, at most, working back at the machine shop. So I had taken quite the pay cut to get back and spend a little bit more time closer to home where I needed to be. Mainly because I wasn't in the best of mental health and I was starting to be more needed at home for the same reason I'm needed now to do work um, and maintain the farm and help maintain everything else. And as it turns out, that proved to be probably a godsend that I got hit with such a massive pay cut because it taught me two things. One, I could make it work. I could make things work in ways that everybody said was impossible. Okay, I had $1,500 at most, $1,500 a month coming in. That was on a 5 week month. I got paid weekly at that point. Um, there we go. I had at best $1,500 a month coming in, and that's after taxes. Okay, that's after taxes. So go ahead and we need to switch that one back. We leave everything else. Yep. Okay. And I had approximately $1,450 coming out every month. So I had to learn very quickly how to make everything work. And I went to a bank that I no longer do business with because they've lied to me on multiple occasions and I caught them at it. I almost got a guy fired for it. That must have coupled back up. Um, but I went to this bank. I talked to their financial advisor, and at the time, sink, the biggest money sink that I had was the car. It was about a $450 payment with $250 of insurance on top of it. Why are you not going? Did I forget to release the brake? I bet I did. Yep, that would be why. Sometimes, man. And since we're already up here anyway, we'll just wait for that to go down. But yeah, the financial advisor said, "Well, it sounds to me like the best thing that you could do for yourself right now is to sell the car." Well, that wasn't an option because I knew I could make it work for one, and for another, I didn't have another mode of transportation because at the time my pickup truck was not reliable. It it just it had an electrical gremlin that I didn't feel comfortable fixing for myself, and I didn't trust a mechanic that, or I didn't trust a mechanic to work on it, nor could I afford the other mechanic that was in town, who was much better, as it turns out, than the one that I had been taking the vehicles to. Well, it took another 2 years of scraping by, metering my income and outflow down to the penny every day. Now you imagine the amount of stress that would put on a body. You stop and consider every day for 2 years. The only thing that you do when you check your phone is to check your bank account and to add up what you have left versus what you're going to be getting before your next round of bills comes due, and get in. Thank you. Oops. Got in and immediately hit the button again. How about that? There we go. I think I got that right. Yep. Just in the nick of time, too. But, it put a fair few gray hairs on my head, to say the least. And with that, I can honestly say that I learned how to manage my finances to such a degree as after I ultimately did sell that car because it was time. It was starting to get to the point that I couldn't afford not the payments. I could afford the payments, but the economy had gone so far south that I couldn't afford the gas. I was about 2 weeks away from telling my boss, "Hey, I need to have a raise so I can afford to put gas in my tank." And at that point, I also had other bills that had gotten a little bit out of hand, and I sold the car and I paid off all of my debt for the time. I think I got around 3K away from paying it off. I got the truck fixed, and I never looked back. After that, I was able to manage my funds with a lot to spare every week. And had I stayed in school, had I gone through the whole rigmarole, I don't think I would have been able to do that. And I think the big thing there is that it's just a matter of hard life lessons being taught more than just dumb luck, really. So after that, I started learning how to invest money, and I can honestly say that I'm not the best at it. Uh, but I do know a thing or two. And there's a lot of people in that used to be in my circle that were in better positions than myself who didn't know anything about money. And they had better educations, they had uh, better jobs, you know, the whole rigmarole. And I knew more about money than they did. And that's not really, I don't think, bragging, but it's just the idea, you know. I don't think that. Oops, I thought we were connected there. The only problem, I keep jumping back and forth like that. The only problem with connecting up cars and then jumping to the next one in line is that it doesn't always do it. Um, but yeah, I honestly think that a lot of, there we go, a lot of my knowledge of how to do things like investing, like financial management, like um, machining now, I could even say, come at great, uh, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I have a lot of gratitude for the things that that I didn't get growing up because without that, I think that I wouldn't have the knowledge that I do now. So, like I said, I'm cool with my friend who can run this game with me. I'm cool with him getting his education, man. He's that's an awesome thing. Kudos to him. I want, you know, nothing but the best for him. And I'm not going to knock that at all. You know, if that's what he wants to do, that's a good thing. I've noticed a lot of folks that do view these videos are not subscribed. So please, guys, do subscribe if you want to see these videos more often. If you want to see these videos more regularly, you know, when they come out, subscribe. I let you guys know the day they're out, when they come out. Uh, and as of right now, we're working on a couple of weeks from now. I'm going to be shutting Patreon down because I'm not getting any subscribers. So, uh, if you guys want to help keep that up and you want to see the unedited footage, head on over to Patreon. The link is in the description. You'll see it. You'll see the plugs in the intro and the outro for this until the end of the month, and then that's going to go away too. Uh, at least that portion of the intro and outro. So, yeah, by all means, guys, head on over, check it out. There's a lot more than just the unedited footage that I plan to do, and I'd hate to see that go away, but if it happens, it happens. So I will cut here, and I will be back when the sun comes back up. Alrighty, we are back, and it looks like we've got quite a storm coming up here, so I don't know how long that'll last. I hit the bell. Wonderful. Whoops, that's not what we want. That's why is it doing that? There. I was in third person. Turn the bell off. Okay, that should stop ringing any time now. Um, yeah, I don't know how long this storm's gonna last, so we're just gonna work on through it about the best we can. Let's see. This is an ore wagon. We're gonna need to break from this and empty that out eventually. So I think that's gonna be the last one we put in there, and then we're gonna move on to the next. Uh, we're gonna move on to the next sighting here. Let's see. Will it take one more? Yes. If only just. Okay. So we'll go ahead and, yeah, because we've still got quite a few. So we'll go over here and we will open up this next siding after this car gets through here. So we just want to make sure that it's got the clearance. If it doesn't, I'll have to move it over to the next line manually. It looks like it will. That's good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that. That line is full, so we'll just leave that one. That works. All right. Our next car is a flat car. And I believe it is that line right there. Yep, okay. So we're going to go ahead and detach this one. Probably not going to roll because we didn't move the locomotive yet. Whoa! So let's come back up here, give it a little bit of a nudge, and send it on its merry way. So there is a pretty good chance that we're going to need to open up another line for the flat cars and the state cars as well. If we don't get them all sorted by the time the sidings fill up. That's why we put them in the two largest sidings, or the two longest, because I knew I had more of them than I'd had anything else at the moment. At the moment. Um, as far as that goes, I think we're just about done with the. It's going with the coal cars, so that's going to be. I think we've got one or two more at most. So that's going to be taken care of. That's awesome. Hopefully we can get all of these put in without having to go in and empty these sidings out right away. Let's push this one up to the top of the hill and stop it there. That's good. So we're going to go ahead and... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That didn't work. We're going to go ahead and go and grab that one and put it in the right... Did it work? No. That was a state car. So we want to grab that one. And it's just going to stall out right over here. But take the brake off. Oops. And it should connect up with that, with the next one. Now, I don't know if we'll have enough room to do those. We may just end up having to open up another line for them. But that said, I don't think it really. It's not going to worry me too much if we have to do that. Okay. Now this one is going into that line, that new open line there. I guess I just forgot to set the switches right. Not a big deal. We'll actually follow this one to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. We'll write it down. How's that sound? Make sure it goes the right direction here. And it should come in right next to the other line of ore cars. Looks like it's going to, if the tracks are anything to judge by. Alright. So we know that's going to make it. So we've got a flat car, so we need to swap our switch. Not that one. That one. Swap our switch so that the flat car is actually on the right line. Back up toward the locomotive here. Just give that one a little bit of a goose. And should just go right on down. Now I know we've got several more of the flat cars and the stake cars, so I'm really not sure um, exactly how much we're going to get into these sightings. So we've got our boxcar next. Let's go ahead and get that one uncoupled and move it up the line. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't know if we're going to get all of these sorted in before we have to empty out the sorting yard. We're only going to have the five, maybe max um, six sightings loaded up. Let's see, how full is that one? We could probably get maybe one more if that's going to back all the way up. Let's go. Let's go take a look. I'm not convinced. So the only reason I'm doing fly mode over here is just for interest of time. Yeah, I think that's gonna probably be about it. Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah, that's close enough to being full. We'll just open up the new. We'll open up a new sighting. So looks like one more. I don't know. Flat cars have still got a ways to go. Stake cars have still got a ways to go. So yeah, I think that's going to be what happens. We've got our um, ore car here that is going on to the far line now. No, the second line for. Okay, thought I saw something. That's going on to that second line that we opened up. So I'm just gonna give that one a little bit of a nudge, send it on down the hill. Let this roll a little bit so that we can bring the flat car a little bit closer to being able to just slide on down the hill of its own accord. That way we don't have to keep nudging them like that. And that one will go down. We can swap into our flat cars. Just like that. We'll go and do the same thing with our box cars here. We'll open up another line on the other side of the coal cars. So let's go ahead and do that. There's our coal hoppers. Open that up. Just like that. And now that that flat car's gone by, we'll go ahead and give this guy a little bit of a nudge. We didn't uncouple him yet, but that's okay. We're just going to push him a little ways and go uncouple him. Oops. Yeah. Okay. We'll bring the train forward a little bit. Continue on. All right. Let's go ahead and wait for that boxcar to clear the line. And there we go. Right to there. We'll unhook our flat car. Uh-oh. Looks like we're stopped right at the apex. Because the flat car's not moving. Yeah, you can see right here. This is why I want to put the I want to put that other walkway in. And as soon as the flat car gets through the set of switches that we need to switch, and it has, we'll go ahead and head over with our next ore car. And away it goes. Now we're going to wait here because I think if we were to unhook this one right now, it may... No, it won't. Okay. I was thinking it may slide on down with a little bit of help, but it won't. We're actually going to ensure that these two do that. These both do that by doing that. By just moving it forward a little bit. And then we will wait till I get the switches changed and we'll open that. We'll send their last stake car down for this run and we'll go get some more. We got our last boxcar here too. That'll be an easy enough. Okay. Yeah, that'll be an easy enough switch. We just got to change over one switch to send that one down. Just as soon as it gets done with the... Yeah, right there. Now this one should just start rolling on its own. Of course it proves me a liar, doesn't it? Alright, so I'm seeing something here. This boxcar is going to be okay, but I'm seeing something here that is a little bit concerning. And that would be why. That figures. They've decided to go the opposite direction. Instead of simply coupling up like they should have, they're going the opposite direction. So, we are actually going to need to open up another switch for the flat cars if we've got any more. And for the stake cars if we have any more of those as well. So I'm going to run over here real quick and grab that next line of cars. And we will see what we've got from there. I'm not going to worry about those stake cars just yet. Well, I probably should. I probably should just move those back. Yeah, because I'm seeing I've got a couple of more over there. I'm seeing them already, so... If I'm seeing them from that distance, there's definitely a reason to move those back. So we'll go ahead and take care of that real quick. I'll go and get those hooked up, and I will be right back. Alrighty, I am back, and we're just pulling this last rake of cars out to send over the hill. And I think with that, we'll actually be pretty close to being done. I think I'm going to just leave the building for another episode and just kind of try and shorten these up just a touch. These running sessions like this one here. But that said, I'm not going to grossly shorten this one. I think what we're going to do is we're actually just going to go ahead and clear out the sorting yard and put as much of that as we can into the holding yard, and then probably build or get a start on building the train going out to the North Line and all the industries there. So the thought on that, oh, nice bright sunshine. Living where I live, you can kind of feel that. After a good hard rain, you can just kind of feel that, even if it's in the game. The thought on that long train is We are going to actually build it in one of the inbound lines since that is longer than anything we'll ever need. Um, and basically we're just taking the vast majority of what we have up the hill. We're going to be dropping it as we go. So, that's in a nutshell what we're gonna do to end off the episode. We're gonna fill up what little bit of holding area we have here, and then we'll just start building the train to move consist up the line. So we've got our first boxcar here that we're going to go ahead and sort into our um, our furthest line out. So let's go ahead and run down here and uncouple it. Now we've still got a little bit of space for the, let's see, one, two, I think there's only two left. 3, 4. Okay, so we actually do not have enough space for all of these on that center line. Well, maybe we do. Maybe if we're lucky, we've got just enough. But I don't think so. I think we've got enough for 3 of the state cars and one more of the flat cars. I think we only have one more flat car anyway. I could be wrong. 1, 2. We've got 2. Okay. So we may have to throw those into separate sidings by themselves. So let's go ahead and get our line switched for our state car here real quick. There we go. That was a state car, wasn't it? Yeah. Wrong switch, Clyde. Okay. This one's sent just a little bit further over the edge of the hill here. All right. There we go. Go and uncouple it and ready ourselves for the next car here. Seems to want to go anyway. All right, so that one's sitting at a point where it's not going to move. So we can do that. And as soon as that state car gets through, we can switch out for the ore car. Just like that. Give that one a little bit of a nudge. And that should just about do it. And we'll come back up here and uncouple this next state car and possibly send it up to the I just want to check, make sure we're getting pretty full on these two center lines over here, so I just want to make sure that it's got plenty of clearance. And it looks like it does, so we can go ahead and send that one. All right. And we're going to have another coal car. I think this is one of our last, it's either our last one or one of the last two. But we definitely don't have another one. We don't have another set of cars to go on. It looks like it is our last one. How about that? And is that, yeah, okay. We can leave that sit on the hill here and switch our track. Dang it, I did it again. Let's derail that one. Okay. We will put it right in here with the rest of them. Right there. So, going I deliberately derailed this one. Now that would not happen in real life. Uh, Real life, you'd just be kind of stuck fixing it. So we'll put this one right here where it belongs. And hopefully it just couples up and doesn't bounce. Because we can't, I mean, we can, but we really shouldn't have to leave this number of cars on the hill to go and fix that. If it bounces, I'm gonna move them. I'm gonna move them over into the holding yard. So we'll hope. So we've got our last ore car here. Not ore car, hopper car for coal. And we've got our switches set, so let's go ahead and give it a little bit of a nudge and send it down the line. Ah, nuts. It recoupled. I mean, normally that's not a bad thing, but when you're on camera, when you're doing this, you really don't want it to recouple. There we go. All right. So that one's away. Now we are going to have to wait for it to clear all the switches before we open up for the um, box cars. For these 3 box cars that are here on this line. So that's not too big of a deal. We can actually just watch it from the camera as it goes in. Man, it looks like it's cleared that siding. Or cleared that switch, rather. Open that up. Move this guy here a little bit further up the line so that we can just uncouple and go. Hopefully I can get that done before the sun goes too far behind the hill here. And apparently I didn't get it far enough up the, or far enough over the slope to do any good. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and push this one just a little bit. I want to go a little further than that. And we will, I think we can get, yeah, we'll go ahead and wait until the sun comes back up. And I think that went into the right one. So I think we're good there. Yep, all right. Fantastic. I'll go ahead and get my switch set for our next one. And we will be back when the sun comes back up. All right, we are back, and I am pretty sure that we're about done here. I think we're going to make this work. Uh, yeah, I've got my switch set already. Let's go ahead and give this guy a nudge here. I haven't uncoupled him. The sun only just came back up, so. All right. I think with what we've got, oops, with what we've got left here, we should be okay. I think we've got two flat cars. I think we're gonna get maybe one more in the siding on each side of this central area here, and that will be it for the most part. We're gonna have to I think what we're going to end up having to do is just take these last 2 cars by themselves and put them into the holding area, which, you know, that's certainly not the worst thing that could happen. Uh, I mean, two more cars. They just happen two more cars than what we happen to be able to put in, and it just so happened to be the last two in the lineup. So I think that's you know well within the margin of error. So let's go ahead and get this one pushed up here and stop it. Get this 4 car pushed up a little further here. There we go. Make sure that one goes into the right siding. And it does. And that will most definitely um, be it for those two sightings. Now, I suppose I probably could, if I really wanted to, just because just because they are the last two, I could send them down anyway. Um, but we'll see what happens. I don't think that they will fit. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they won't. But by the time we get to that point, it's not going to matter. So that's a good thing. I think we'd be okay to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and detach this boxcar to begin with. It's not going to go anywhere. And once I'm sure that line is clear, I will swap back over like that. And we'll give this boxcar a nudge and send it back down or send it down the line. Just like that. All right. So come back up here, get ready to uncouple this. Think. Yeah, it shouldn't go anywhere if we just uncouple it now. Camera. Oh, it's going to. All right. Well, that's okay because it's moving slow enough. We got plenty of time here. Boom and boom. Just like that. And it's going to go on its own. So let's go see what we've got going over here. Those are moving their way further back. That's good. Now, if you remember, we have this one we had to derail, so it's actually not coupled. See, it's not coupled, so we need to see if this is actually going to couple or if it's going to bounce the wrong direction. I want to find out what's going on. Yep, that figures. So let's get that, put that direction. And maybe, since we've got the clearance here, um, maybe if we put the next one in, it'll knock it back. We can hope. So let's go ahead and uncouple this boxcar here and get our switches set so that we can just go ahead and go. Looks like that's there. Good. Good, good, good. So it looks like we're going to be able to send these last two down despite my concern. So that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and just watch from this flat car here, see what happens. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got the clearance for these two down there now. So we can go ahead and start switching in. So let's go ahead and get this one disconnected. Oh, it didn't move. How about that? So despite my concern, it looks like we have just enough space to get all these cars down here. So we'll go ahead and I want to watch these to make sure. And I'm actually in I'm actually not in fly mode right now, so we're keeping up with this car. I want to make sure. Haha, fantastic. Brings it right to the edge, but that's good. That's good enough for me. So we'll go ahead and get this switch here set. We'll do this manually since we're right here. And it should go right in. Let's see if it will. It will. Okay. Now, as tempting as it may be, I'm not going to run Lucky down this hill. I know there's somebody wanting me to do that. Inevitably, there's going to be somebody that wants me to do that. So we're actually going to ride this guy down. But yeah, that's not a happening thing. I'm not going to do that. It's a fun idea, but ultimately, it's not going to happen. Now, I don't think that anything would happen on that short of a run, but it's not how I play this game. And anybody that's been watching this channel for as long as it... Why do they go backwards? Why do they go backwards? I don't get it. Well, let's stop them before they get too far away. Okay. It's like, just physics. Okay. Anybody that... Yeah, what I was going to say. Anybody that knows... Anybody that's been watching this series as long as I've been doing this knows that I'm not going to deliberately send a locomotive where it shouldn't be. I may do that off camera just to save a little bit of time or to mess around a little bit, but ultimately that's not something that I want to do. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a ways to run up here. And we're just, since we can't really switch anything right now because since physics decided to take a vacation today, we're going to start with the stake cars. Now we're going to pull them out, and we're going to get as many of them into the same siding as we've already got the stake cars in now. As we can, and then we'll fill up. There we go. And we'll bounce off the bumper at the back of the siding. So it looks like we'll have just barely enough for this amount of cars. I don't know how many we've got here. I didn't count them. But looks like we've got just enough for that many cars in this center 2 sidings here, or center 2 lines. So I actually do not know how much space we're going to have once we get these pulled out of here and put into this first siding here with the other stake cars. I don't know how many we're going to get put in there before we have to uncouple. But that's not too big of a deal. We've got a couple of lines that we can use for these, and we're gonna build a train with the other stuff that we've got, or some of the other stuff that we've got. So it's not like it's all gonna be going in here today. But we'll get as far as we can. Okay. Start putting on our brakes here a little bit. We're going to have to get past this switch that we're on right now. If only just. See, I try to just barely clear Just like that. I just try to barely clear the point on these switches. Now you can't do that with the three-way switches. You can't do that because the whole rail moves versus just the little sliver of a rail at the edge of the point. The actual whole rail itself moves, and that causes the car to jump or sometimes even derail entirely. I've had that happen too. I know in a fair number of my previous episodes, you guys have seen where I have forgotten to set a point, or the point switched back to what it was for some odd reason. Probably that I forgot to set it to begin with. And you'll see that the locomotive or the car that's rolling over, trying to roll over, it just suddenly stops. Unless it's rolling fairly fast, in which case it'll just jump the track and that'll be it. Okay. You're going backwards. We don't want to go backwards. As much into this siding as we can get. We want as much into the siding as we can get. Even if I've got to run with my brakes on. Okay. What the heck? Whoa. Apparently, we had just a little bit of an issue. Oops. I didn't realize that would happen. I did not know that was going to happen. Well, all of our nice careful work just resulted in a massive disaster thanks to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get these all re-railed on the bypass for the hump, and I will be right back. Alrighty, I am back, and that was certainly a thing. And I think I'm gonna have to check and see what my recording times are, what they've been set to, because for some odd reason my recording stopped while I was running that, or while I was getting those put back on the rails. Now I've already got all the brakes released. We're just gonna see if everything hooks back up. It should all just hook up real quick. Okay, so okay, that's good. Now we can take these back, and we are going to have to put them on a second line, but we knew that was coming. Okay, so let's try to not crush all of our cars into the siding this time. I did not think that would happen. What the? Really? I didn't think that was going to happen the way it did, because I have used the I've done what I did before and used the the steam pressure from the locomotive to hold pressure on the consist into a siding. I've done that before and it hasn't done that. So I don't know. Maybe I had a little bit too much pressure on it. The regulator was probably just a little bit too open at full. So yeah, I mean that's kind of one of those deals where it's a duh type moment, you know, duh. Shouldn't have done that, but it is what it is, and doesn't really seem to have done too much in the way of setting us back. So we're just going to roll up right up here to the bumper stop. We're going to try and make it a real nice, easy stop instead of cramming everything, because flat cars and state cars are very easy to derail. I mean, you guys saw that pretty clearly just a minute ago. And I know in a couple episodes at least we've had derailment issues with flat cars, so... And that should be pretty close. We're going to go ahead and just bumper it up there. There we go. We'll go ahead and grab our next rake. I think we're going to grab the flat cars. Now we're going to stick them in the 2 sidings next to them. Probably even the 3 sidings. I think we may end up filling this up. Hence why I said, I want to expand out the holding yard here. Because ultimately we're going to have a lot of rolling stock for this. Whoop, I guess I didn't go far enough. Yeah, I did. I know what I'm doing. Really, I do. Don't take my word for it. Look at my idiocy. So, we'll get that one switched. Yeah, I think what we're going to definitely need to do on the next episode is build out the holding area a lot more. I mean, there's a pretty good chance that I might put the holding area or some more holding over in this area here where there's a lot more flat ground than over here, but I think it'll be good to fill this out a little bit and get things, kind of a little better organized than what they are at present. And I'd like to avoid taking up as much space as possible in this map with just storage for rolling stock, but that's just kind of how it is with railroads in real life. Is you've got a ton of acreage dedicated to storage of rolling stock and storage of locomotives, and there's always more rolling stock than there is locomotives. I mean, it's something like 100-to-1 ratio. Even on short lines, it's an immense amount of rolling stock per locomotive. So it's not really something that is in any way, shape, or form really surprising. So once we get this holding area filled up, it will pretty well be essentially useless for a little while. Because we've got flat cars and we've got the state cars, and I will need to go in and check before I build that portion of the train exactly what we need to have the state cars and the flat cars for going up to the north line. But I do know that the ore cars and the coal cars need to go up on the north line, so we will be putting those together today, and I think that will be pretty well the end of the episode. So we'll get a start on that, and we'll figure out where they need to go in the consist, and we will use the inbound lines. We'll use the ones closest to the hump here to build the train, get everything sorted where we need it and whatnot. Okay, so You can see we are way outside of the um, we're way outside of the sighting. So we've got way too many here. Think I think we could probably do this one. Let's go ahead and unhook that one. And we'll put the next set in right next to it. Yeah, that brings it right to the very edge of that. That's fine. That's kind of what's going on up here too. We probably could have got one more, but I didn't want to push it. So that'll work. We'll swap those over and come right in. I'm willing to bet that we've got the clearance, but if we don't, we'll take that. I know they're probably going to end up clipping through just a little bit. Yeah, we're fine. Barely, we're fine. So we'll take that. We'll take that car and we'll put it on this sighting here. That one car. Sorry, I'm just watching the locomotive to make sure it makes it in. Because yeah, that's just a little bit too close for comfort. But you can see, this is basically all this little area was meant for, was for just storage. Storage of the empties once they've been sorted out and organized into their specific type. Okay, so let's go back and get that other car. That one car that's sticking just a little too far out. Because yeah, it's close. It clears, but it's close. Now I mentioned, I worked in CNC machining, and as we used to say in that shop, we've got miles between or for clearance. Of course, we're talking miles and miles of clearance being something you just barely stick a quarter in on edge. And those machines, they'd come just racing up right to the point where you set them, and it looked like they were going to crash, and you'd have this eighth-inch gap or less, eighth-inch gap. Um, Guy I used to work with was the senior guy there, and he he had a couple of parts that he would run on a regular where the miles and miles of clearance. I don't know how many folks that watch this channel know really how small a thousandth of an inch is. But his miles and miles of clearance was at most 10,000th of an inch. You could just see the air between the part and the tool, but you couldn't get anything in between them except for maybe a shim, and that would be it. And those machines would come racing right up to that spot and stop. Scared the crap out of me every time. In no uncertain terms, man. It's like standing there with your hand on the emergency stop button, waiting for the dang thing to crash. Of course, that said, the company I worked for, those machines weren't worth it. They weren't worth it. I'll keep it polite. They were not. they were not in a good state of repair. When I finally left that shop, I think we were down to a grand total of 2 machines out of the 9 that we were working with when I first started there the first time. But yeah, I always find that more clearance is a better thing than not enough. So we're gonna keep on through the night here, and we're gonna get these last few cars set up so that um, we can get our train built. Now I'm going to start with this emptier line here and go past the full line of ore cars. And the reason we're going to do that is because it's a little bit less of a wasted movement. See, you're going past where you're supposed to pick up some of them. You come out and you don't have to go quite as far to pick the others up as you would if you were to pick up the full load and then come out and pick these last 4 or 5 up. So let's go ahead and get these out of here. I know that made more sense as I was thinking about it in my head than it did when I was saying it, but you're kind of looking at what I'm doing as I'm talking about it. So it's a fair bit more than 5. Well, either way, it's 6. Okay. Either way, we're saving a little bit of a movement here because we won't have to go as far. We just have to clear the switch. There we are. That's what I want. So these are going to go right into an outbound, or right into an inbound. So we are actually going to go past our switch here, and we're going to go right to that switch. We're going to put them right in that line. Or inbound, I should say, not outbound. And the reason we're not going to the outbound with these is 2 reasons. One, we don't have a caboose ready and waiting. And second, I don't know the order right off the top of my head that we're going to need to put all these cars in. I know our first stop is going to be the Iron Works and the coal depot. Now the Iron Works is gonna happen first and foremost. That's going to be the one that we stop at for the very beginning. So that's going to be the very end of the train. And then our next stop is going to be the coal mine. So that's going to be the next one in. And so on and so forth. So okay, let's eventually come to a stop. Put our switch on there. Get our regulator and reverser set and go right on back in. So these iron ore cars, they're actually going to be probably one of the last 2 stops that we make. So they're going to be pretty close to the locomotives in general. But I don't know if we're going to have state cars and flat cars ahead of them or not. What I will say for absolute certain is that this train will be empty The whole train is going to be empty. We're not going to have a load on these. Okay, so we are coming up here just about in the siding with the locomotive. When we get to that point, we're going to stop and unhook, because we don't need to go any further than we have to. Alright, so we'll just roll there for a minute. And yeah, we've got miles to go before we reach the end of the siding here. So we're going to go ahead and unhook here. Maybe. See if it'll work. Let's see if it's unhooked. Oh, okay. And we will go and pick up, I think, the let's pick up the ore cars, or the coal cars, I should say. Let's pick those up first, or second. Get back in, thank you. And I'll switch that as we're coming to a stop here. There we go. Go and pick them up. And we'll run. We can run as fast as we possibly can. It's a straight track, so I don't see any issue with derailing. Of course, I say that and watch Lucky be the one to do it too. You know, it's like watch him be the one that actually does derail on a straight track. I don't know why I called him Lucky at this point. It's just a name. Okay, so we're going to come in here and pick up our coal cars. Let's try not to bash them too much. There we go. Did we connect? We did. How about that? I didn't hear it. So let's see. I don't know why it does that. All right, so we are completely we're connected up. We can go ahead and head out, and we're going to put these right next to the. We're going to put them right next to the ore cars. So these are actually going to be one of the first two stops that we make. So this is going to be pretty close to the end of the train. And we may or may not build two different trains. It just depends. What I can do is build two separate trains after some offline running over the next week to get some more funds to buy some more cabooses and some more rolling stock so that we have more content. What I can do is put this into two trains and sort the consists out into their appropriate sidings for each drop that we make. Now, doing that, since these trains are going to end up being so long anyway, we could probably use one of the locomotives that we're double heading with to sort them in. Go the right direction here. And we're gonna bring these roughly about to the same point on the line as that one is, or as the ore cars are. We're probably gonna bring them right to that point. Just, you know, for the locomotive to be just onto the line here with a little bit of clearance. We're going to even them up on this side. About like that. Drag a little bit. Call that good, and we'll go pick up the boxcars. Now the reason we're not putting anything else in the storage yard is plain and simple, and that we just don't have the room for them. We don't have the we've only got 3 more sightings, and we don't have nearly enough storage for all of them, for all the cars that we've got. So we'll go and pick up. If I do this, there we go. Okay. I was gonna say, if I do it right, I can get them all 3 set and just take my hand off the keyboard. Okay, so we want to pick that one up first, and then come back for the full sighting. So yeah, we could probably take a second locomotive with this train, at least as far as where we don't have a locomotive to begin with, like the coal industry, the ironworks, you know, places like that. But up at the iron ore mine, we actually do have a locomotive that we can use, so we can just drop that portion of the train and head on up to oh, I had my reverser set the wrong way. I was gonna go backwards. I didn't figure it'd stop short. But yeah, we can just drop that portion of the bonk. There we go. Drop that portion of the train and head on up to the smelter with the remaining train if we have any. Now, I imagine we probably will. Mostly for the fact that the smelter takes the, I believe it's the flat cars. It might be the flat cars and the state cars, but we'll find out, or I will find out before the next episode. Okay, so go in and pick these guys up. And we actually had more of these boxcars than we had even of the flat cars and state cars. I was surprised that we had as few as we did in comparison, because I didn't realize that we had this many boxcars in general. Now, that said, I did deliberately put a tally down, and I did it intentionally buy enough to do what we wanted to do. Now, 2 of these, or a small number of these, are going to go over onto the train that you see sitting there, that seed pallet train. A couple of these are going to go over there. We're going to go ahead and get those loaded up and set over there to begin with before we end this episode. But yeah, you can see this is quite the train, quite the length of run here. And I genuinely do not see a train, except for what we're going to be taking up in probably the next episode or two. Either in the next episode or the one after that. I don't see a train ever being this long again. We'll never need one to be this long. And even with the doubleheader, we're going to be crawling up that mountain for a while. I don't see, even with 2 locomotives, that we'd be doing more than 10 mile an hour up that hill. Even with that shallow 1% continuous grade, it's gonna, it's the weight of all these cars is just gonna drag everything down to a crawl. All right, so that's the switch that we want. So let's go ahead and get that switched in. We're going to roll for a minute. Is the right one? Yes. Okay. Now this one I could probably see taking up the entire switch or the entire siding. I could see this one probably taking up this entire line right here. But we will find out. We're going to come back here and watch the locomotive for that. And then I'm going to refuel a fire here and pull a couple out and send it down to get loaded up and connected up to the train that's going to go up to the high station, top station. That's it. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, we've got, that's quite a few of them. Okay, so I'm going to look in the map here real quick. How many do we need? So I want 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 3. So I'm going to pull that where it's even. Or more or less even. And we'll take these 3 over, get them loaded up with seed, and sent back, or sent over to the waiting yard for southbound. So we've got those all sorted out. That looks a lot better. That looks so much better than that hodgepodge we had just a couple episodes ago. At least in my mind, anyway. Get all my switches set while we're rolling back here. Okay. That works. Now once we get all that, once we get all those holding yard built, little spots like this, little 3-4 car lengths like this will probably be more the norm than 20, 30, 40 cars long. Okay, so. But the reason we're doing it now is just so we could get the yard emptied out and cleaned up and ready for the next influx of rolling stock. And like I said, I'm going to try and get all these up to 50 units per type. So right now we've got 50 units. Let me grab my notes here. I finally found them. We've got 50 units of the flat cars and the stake cars. We've got 30 box cars, and that's including what we've got down here, you know, hooked up to us right now, plus what we've got sitting over at the outbound. So far, we've only got 25 of the ore cars. That's including what we've got up at the iron ore mine. Coal cars, I don't know how I messed up the count so much on this, but we've only got 14. We should have had 15, but apparently I got the count that bad. And then bulkhead cars, all we've got is what we've had at the forestry and the one extra car up at the smelter, which totals 26. Those are going to be another major purchase that we get. And then we need to get tank cars and reefer cars, or what I'm calling reefer cars, actually the ventilated box cars. And we're going to have 50 of each. And that's 50 of each, not including what's up on the High Line, which is there permanently. You know, it's up there permanently. We do need to get some more stock cars, but that is another endeavor in and of itself because we will never need, you know, a huge amount of those. We've only got capacity uh, for so much cattle, and I don't know about you, but cattle will not stay alive on a inside of a stock car for very long. Now, in this game, that's not really programmed in, but that's the way, I would kind of prefer to believe that it works in this game. So we don't need very many stock cars at all. I'd say we probably need at least 10 with another rake of 10 waiting to be loaded. 10 loaded, 10 unloaded, and just swap them back and forth. But for something like that, I could see, just the 10 would be enough. And I believe that's what we've got now, but I can look. That's the wheat farm. Oh, we've got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So we need probably 4 more. That's fine. That's perfectly doable. We can get those bought and put in the to be sorted yard. Along with everything else. So I think our next episode is going to be probably the storage building. We're gonna build the storage yard, and then after that we'll finish out the train that we're gonna take up to or take along the north line to get everything dropped off and sorted in to the sightings and whatnot. And then I think we'll probably end up doing some running up and down the north line to get some production going. We're gonna try and get the smelter going. We're gonna try and get it loaded up and going. And we don't have 50 of the iron ore cars yet, but we've got enough that I would feel comfortable enough um, loading them all up, stacking them into a train, and sending it up the line. That would get us a pretty decent start on production, and we can always load it up from there. And we'll test out the gravity line, see how well that works. I think I've got it set up for maybe 5 cars at a time. Um, but that's something that even this far into the series we haven't tested it yet, so that'll be something to see. And that's the shortest gravity line we have on this map, and it's also by my mind, it's the most dangerous because it's basically just a straight shot down that little gully to the um, Shoot. Well, I messed that up. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a runaround. That's not too big of a deal. Where can we do this easily? Uh, right there. As a matter of fact, we can just do that. Okay. So I'm going to get out and uncouple. We're going to leave these cars right here. We're going to do a runaround. I did not think about that when I brought them out. But that's me being my usual uh, level of intelligence. I'm stupid. I'm not proud of it. But at least I know how to laugh about it. Okay, so let's get that runaround done. Preferably without tipping the locomotive over. Get this set in. Get this line switched. Oh, that's beautiful. What the heck? When did they move? That's nice. They weren't moving when I uncoupled them. Jesus. Okay. Well, if anybody saw that, if anybody saw exactly what happened there, good for you. Because they were not rolling when I pulled away from them. So, gotta love it. Oh well. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work. Lucky, I don't know what to do with you, boy. You is all sorts of trouble. I don't know whether to keep calling him Lucky or Trouble. Did it connect? The answer is yes. Okay. This one hooked back up, and I think the other one's still on the rails. It was rolling a little bit. There we go. Okay. That's a thing. But yeah, I think this next episode we're going to be doing a building episode. We're going to get the storage built, or this rolling stock storage built, and then we will build out the train for the north line, and then we'll do some work on the north line for a little while, because at that point we'll have most if not all of our rolling stock bought and put together. All right. So that's where we need to be. And hopefully it doesn't decide to roll out. So I'm going to take this derail magnet here and put it back in the shop, or back in the roundhouse. Hopefully without any further issue, but we'll find out. We will find out one way or another. All right. Get our switch set here so we can just do this. And so we got to come back out on this main line because I don't have it set just so. And I could probably change that with a three-way switch right here, but that inner line is tight enough as it is. I don't want to make it even worse. And the only reason that inner line is there, and it really, at this point, I don't really think it needs to be there. Um, but it is, dang it, get your fingers in the right spots. It allows the southbound traffic to come just right into the inbound. And really, it doesn't even need to be there because if you look at the switches, well, I guess it does kind of need to be there, doesn't it? Okay, well, forget what I was just saying. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call this episode here. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you liked, let me know what you didn't like. Um, yeah, if you guys enjoyed, let me know. And maybe subscribe over here on YouTube and on Patreon. Um, you guys are going to see, like I said, you're going to see it in the intro and the outro, so I'm not going to keep saying it here. But I want to keep Patreon open. I want to keep it open. I really do. You guys deserve to have more than just the videos, so I want to keep Patreon alive. If it's feasible to do, head on over and subscribe there. I'd love to see you in the Discord chat. For now, though, I want to thank you guys again for joining me here today, and I will see you on the next one.